Life, strength, beauty, love. Life, strength, beauty, love. Life, strength.
I am beauty, I am love, extraordinary day and night, full of love and life is me, living example is all I can be.
Good evening. I am your host, Necol Scott, and I am super excited about all the things that we have in store for you. April kicks off Sexual Abuse Awareness Month, and that's what we will be tapping into today. So sit back, relax, and sip your tea with me, Necol Scott.
My name is India, and I'm a survivor of sexual abuse.
The most vulnerable age for a child to be exposed to sexual assault is ages 3 to 8. Of those sexually abusing a child under the age of 6, 50% of those were family members. Approximately 20% of girls and 8% of boys will be sexually abused before their 18th birthday. 95% of children who are sexually abused are abused by someone they know and trust. The previous statistics are staggering numbers, and I fall into every category. Many of you may know, and for those of you who don't, the first time I remember being sexually abused, I was 6 years old. It was by a female family member of mine who was also a child, but much older than me. And you would think that they knew better. I guess not. It becomes normal to you once you've been abused all your life. As far as I can remember, I kept telling my mom that I didn't want to go over there anymore. And she kept asking why. And I didn't want to tell her why because I didn't want to get in trouble, because that family member said, if you tell on me, I would tell them it's all your fault and you were touching me. I was 6. I didn't know any better. So in that, I finally told my mom I didn't want to go over there anymore. I just wanted to stay home with her. She was okay with that. And this house, this family member's house, was everybody's favorite. All the children loved going over to this house. There was so much fun, so much land, and so much to eat. It was home. It was a family to all of us, especially the ones of us that didn't have two-parent homes. In this family member's house, there was a mother and a father. You wouldn't believe some of the fun times and things that happened, but there were also a lot of bad things. And I remember one time I burned myself with a curling iron because I sat on it. And when I sat on that curling iron, it left a blister. And I was 6, guys. I didn't... What happened next? To this day, I still think about it and I wonder why. I look at myself and I've asked myself, why me? But one particular night, the night that I burned myself with the curling iron, that night I didn't want to go to bed because I knew what was going to happen. This female cousin kept touching and licking and doing things to me that only adults should be doing. And I asked her to stop because she made it hurt more. And that's when she told me to lay still or she was going to go and tell on me. And if I tried to tell on her, that's when she would say it was my fault. It hurt so bad for her to do what she was doing to me. And I let her because I didn't know any better. But that wasn't the only time. There was another time where my mother's boyfriend, we went over to his home me and another male family member of mine. Her boyfriend's son made me and the male younger family member touch each other. He made us drink Heineken. He made me smoke a cigarette. And then he began to touch on the both of us. I started crying, so my mom came out of the room. And when I started crying, he got up and left out. My mom asked what was wrong, but I couldn't tell her. And we didn't drink enough beer for it to be on our breath, I suppose, because I guess my mom didn't smell it. But, you know, finally I went and told a friend of mine at school. And she said, I think you need to go and tell your mother, because nobody should be doing that. Growing up in my family, I won't say that my mom didn't tell me anything or teach me anything when it came to stuff like that. But because it was already happening, I assumed that it was normal. But when my friend told me, she said, I'll never, her name is Faye, and we went to elementary school together, and I told her, and she said, go and tell your mom. So I went and I told my mom, and I don't know what happened after that. I was too young. However, I do know that we never saw them again. The father, we never saw the son, we never saw any of them. After that, there were plenty other times where I was abused, touched, assaulted. There's one particular time that, although I've dealt with it and I feel like that I've healed from this, it still does cross my mind. And this one was the hardest one for me to get over. But I was 10 years old, and in the neighborhood that we lived in, it was a low-income neighborhood. A lot of people I had gotten to know. My mom had known some of the mothers or the parents from growing up. And one particular day, I went to a neighbor's house to get my hair done. Young lady, older than me, but she wasn't an adult. I went to go and get my hair done, and I knocked on the door, came in, you know, it was a normal day, normal for me anyway. So I go into the house, I sit on the couch, and she says, hold on for a second. She goes into the kitchen. She's speaking to her brother. She comes out of the kitchen. She tells me I have to go across the street to another neighbor's house to get a particular product for my hair because she didn't have it. So I said, okay. I sat on the couch, naive to what was about to happen. She leaves out. She's gone for a second, and her older brother comes in, and he's trying to kiss on me and touch me. Now, I'm 10 years old. I just started my cycle, and he is 18 years old. He started touching on me and kissing me, and I'm trying to push him away. And eventually, I guess he just gets tired of me pushing and fighting him, that he pushes me to the floor and he pulls my pants down. And I'm trying to fight him. And as I'm fighting him, he's trying to stick his penis into my vagina. That was one of the worst pains I have ever felt in my life. And you know, as I got older, and the more I would think about it, the more I began to hate, and the more I wanted to kill this person, because he had left me with so much trauma and so much pain. And, you know, I thought, what would a grown man want with a 10-year-old child? What can my body possibly do for you? How is this attractive to you? How is a 10-year-old child's body attractive to you? Once he got tired of fighting and he was done, and I guess enough of my menstrual had gotten on him, he throws my clothes back at me, tells me put them on, and he says, if you tell anybody, I'll deny it. I immediately go home. The sister walks back through the door. I run home, and I said, don't worry about doing my hair. I'll get my mom or somebody to do it, I guess. I don't remember. I do remember that I left. And when I left, I went home, and my mom came home, and I told her. So my mom goes and confronts him and his mother. My mother comes back and gets me, and we're in the middle of the neighborhood. And his mother is irate, and she's yelling, and she's angry, and you know, I would be that way if somebody accused my child of something like that, if they were lying. This person swore on the Bible that he did not touch me. I had no reason to lie. I was a 10-year-old child. Why would I lie about a grown man putting his body parts inside of me? So nothing happened after that. You know, as I got older, my mother said to me that she believed me, but she couldn't prove it. Now, why she didn't call the police or whatever it was, I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I can't answer that for her. As time went on in my life, I was molested or raped by other people. And I remember one time, there was an older gentleman in the neighborhood after I had my first child when I was 14. And he went to grab my baby, but as grabbing my baby, he was fondling my breast. And I say to him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm just trying to grab the baby." So I move her away from my breast and I hand him to her, and I go and I tell my mom. Well, my mom confronts him, and when she confronts him, he comes outside and I don't want that wildebeest. I mean, he called me all types of names. And to this day, when he sees me, he acts like it was nothing. He speaks to me, I nod, and I walk off. I don't hold much conversation because there's not much you can say to me. But another particular time, I was pregnant with my daughter, and there was a male family member that was in my house. And I was asleep. I was in my t-shirt and my underwear before the person had come into the house. So I was laying on the couch. I was asleep, and I was awoke to this family member dry humping my backside. This one still bothers me as well a little bit, simply because it was a male family member. And when I went to my mom and I told her, and she said, "Well, maybe you were hallucinating." I hated her for a long time for that. But I have since let it go, and me and my mom have a very good relationship. But with all of those things happening, I hated God. I hated the church members at my church. I hated my mother. I hated my father, because these people were supposed to be the people who were protecting me, and I never felt protected. I never felt like anyone would make sure that I was okay. I cursed God and I said, you know, F you, I don't believe in you. You are allowing this to happen to me. But my grandmother is who I took it out on the most. When I first started my cycle, I said to my grandmother said to me, I apologize, "Keep your panties up and your dress down." And when she died, I went berserk. I said, if you're going to leave me unprotected, then I'm going to do everything you told me not to, not understanding that I was the only person who was hurting. I decided to become a survivor and not to continue to be a victim. It took me a long time to get to a place where I knew, or that I wanted to get help, but I always knew that I needed to get help. All of the trauma that I went through as a child affected my choices and my decisions. Some of those being having 3 children before my 19th birthday. Uh-oh. But I knew I had to change because I had children that needed me to change. I needed me to change. So I started getting the help I needed. It's very hard for someone in any case, any race, but I can only speak for my own. And it's very hard for African Americans to get mental health help. So at the age of 33, I decided to go and see a therapist. One of the best choices I've ever made in my life. I always felt like if I went and got help from someone else, I was weak. That's not the case. I started seeing a therapist, going to her for a couple of years, and I've been going to her for about 5 years now. And she's the greatest. She's the absolute greatest. She has helped me understand a lot of things within myself that I needed help with. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2013, which was a hard pill for me to swallow. Also, in doing that, I felt like it wasn't enough. I'm the type of person where I like to continue to learn. I need to learn more. I need to be fulfilled. And I felt like at first therapy was not enough. So I sought out for spiritual help. And I found a woman on Facebook, and her name is Miss Nada Crystal. Crystal Mitchell on Facebook now, I think. And when it came to the spiritual part of what she did for me that my therapist wasn't doing, because my therapist was not a spiritual therapist. So what she gave to me was something that my therapist could not give to me. And it made me see things in a different way. Child, that tea is warm and nice. I received spiritual guidance from her, and I still do to this day. And I can call her at any time. And you know, one of the things that she taught me was you have to give people their pain back. You don't have to accept the pain that people have given to you. Trust yourself. She told me it is your responsibility to heal, no one else's. That's when I knew that I was going in the right direction. I also, as a part of my healing, went to a young lady by the name of India Richardson, who is the owner of Womb Therapy Indeed, and she did a vaginal steam. Vaginal steam, some people think it's just, you know, to enhance sexual pleasure and snap it back. But it's much more than that. It was spiritual to me. It was physical to me, and she made me feel so comfortable. She told me to allow all the toxins and the negative energy of all those who hurt me into her pot. Leave it with her. It was the most amazing feeling. And there are so many things or so many reasons that women should get vaginal treatments. And it's all natural, all holistic. She uses crystals. She's so warming. She don't take no stuff though. You can't go in there with her and be trying to give her some unnecessary negative energy, because she will refund your money, because her energy is more important than anybody else's. Now, when I did the steam, there were a couple mishaps. You'd have to buy my book to find out what happened. But she made me feel unlike I had ever felt in my life, allowing these things to leave my body. And then I decided to talk about what was happening to me. And I confronted those people who abused me. One thing that happens that I did not give you a statistic about, but I will share with you, is that most times children who are molested molest other children while they're still children, or some of them grow up to do the same thing. I was one of those children who in turn did the same thing to another child because it was normal to me. I didn't understand that it was wrong. So I took it upon myself to apologize to the 3 people I had done it to. I was 8, 9, and 10 when it happened. Maybe 11, but I believe it was 8, 9, and 10. One of them, which was a male, was very receptive to what I had given him, the apology that I offered him. And he said to me, "That is very big of you." He said, "I appreciate you. One of the other ones I have not seen or talked to in years, but I put the apology in my book, so if she ever comes across it, she can understand what was happening. She can understand how apologetic I am for her. And the other one, she just kind of, I don't remember that. And so I did my part and I let it be what it was. There are plenty of resources out here. You have the sexual assault hotline. You can go to your therapist. You can go to your religious leaders, any of them who may be in your religion or your spirituality, where you can talk to them. I am not against at all. I am not against going to see a therapist. I believe that everybody needs a therapist. Even therapists need therapists. Everybody needs somebody they need to talk to. However you think that your healing needs to start, then you need to do that, because you depend on you. I don't usually drink out this little itty bitty cup, but it was cute, so I wanted to show it off to you today. But you have to decide when enough is enough. You have to decide when your healing will start. You have to decide when to forgive people. Not for them though. You forgive them for you, and you give them back that trauma. You give them back that pain. You give them back that negative energy that they gave to you, because it does not belong to you. You are responsible for you. Let your healing start today. Not tomorrow, not the next day. Allow your healing to start today. 2017 was a very hard year for me. Beginning of the year, I'm sorry, let's go back. 2016 was when it started. My husband and I had been together 13 or 14 years, 13 years. And in May of 2016, he decided that our marriage wasn't where he wanted to be. So he left, he moved out. I went into a spiral after that. I was doing a lot of things that I should not have been doing, especially as a married woman. But in January of 2017, I decided to call myself getting a boyfriend. Stepping out of what I said for better or worse for. Although he stepped out and I really felt like it was going to be what it was, I knew better. I know that when things are out of order, nothing goes right. So I started dating someone that I went to high school with. I don't even want to call this one of the worst mistakes of my life, because everything that you go through, good and bad, is a learning experience. So I definitely learned a lot from dealing with this particular person. Someone I will never deal with again. But being in there and going through what I went through with this person, I felt even more trapped dealing with this person. I couldn't be who I was. I wasn't allowed to be inspirational. I wasn't allowed to speak my mind. That is not who I am. We finally broke up. I went to Pastor John P. Key's church. I believe it was in April. And the message was, "Don't tell me I can't." When I heard that message, I knew what it was time for me to do. I wrote my book. I wrote it in a week because I knew that it had to be told. And telling my story was also a part of my healing. So I wrote my book, Not Built to Break, I Am Free. Chapter 1, Sexual Abuse. And it's available on my website at IAmNecolScott.com. That's NECOLSCOTT.com. It's also available on Amazon and Kindle. Now, if you want to know more about my story and how I got my healing and what took place, please purchase my book. I believe that it will help you. And at first I was afraid to do this because I felt like it's so little, but this little book is very powerful. And I'm not gloating, I'm being as humble as I can. This book is going to help so many people. If it won't help you, or if you've never been through this, purchase it for someone that you know that has. So, hey, you want to know what's cooking? So, I don't follow recipes unless it's a family recipe or something like that. And, ooh, move that way. There we go. And I just kind of put things together that I like. Today we're working with pink shrimp from Argentina with onions and peppers, garlic, and a little bit of parsley. So for time's sake, because I don't want to hold you up anymore, I'm going to cut this and show you what I do. So I take my green pepper and this little concoction thing that I have here. I don't know what it's called, but you get it. Press down and voila, there it is, because it's going to take too much time for me to cut there. I have already prepared the onions and peppers here. So I'm going to move this out to the other side, or further in the corner, I'm sorry. Make sure you always wash your vegetables before you eat them. I like to put them in the sink with a sink full of water and a cup of white vinegar. Sometimes I'll add lemon juice in it because I find that it keeps the vegetables crisper and keeps them fresh longer. So that's what I do. So I have a little bit of thyme here, and it's fresh. I prefer fresh over the dried foods, simply because I like the fresh taste, but sometimes the dried foods are better. So I'll take a sprig here, put my bowl on the tray, and just glide the leaves down and sprinkle them in. I don't want to put too much because it can be overpowering, and you don't want it to overpower the other flavors that you're going to use. So there's that. And then I'll get a little piece of some parsley, break it off. I only want a little bit because I'm only making enough for two. Usually I make enough food for 15 people because there are 9 children, 3 grandchildren, my husband and I, and my grandmother. And I'm sorry, she's not my grandmother, she's my mother. She's their grandmother. And everybody comes to my house to eat. But this time, I'm only going to cook for me and my daughter, Anaya. So, you don't want to cut too much because you don't want it to be smashed. And you want it to be cut down enough, but make it pretty for when the food is done to sprinkle on top of it. So, get some of this off of my knife. Always, 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 always wash your hands. I'm going to rinse my hands off because now I'm going to something different. Hand soap or liquid detergent will work just fine. But make sure you wash your hands. If you're not sure, wash them anyway. So now that we have all of the vegetables and everything that's cut up, leave that there. Move this to this side. You don't want to get your things too cluttered. So let me grab a bowl from here. Make sure you're always cutting on a cutting board, and get you a mat to step on so to make it easier for you when you're standing on it. I'll put all my vegetables in here because I'm sure I'll use them later for dinner because my children want lasagna. They can't deal with anything simple. They want big meals, and then so I cook it because I like to cook. So I'll put my vegetables here. I'll put my thyme here. Found a couple pieces of sprigs that we can use. So I'll move this here. Break these apart in here. Now most times you should have your hair tied up because you don't want any food with hair in it. It's disgusting. You wouldn't eat it when you went to a restaurant. You don't want to eat it when you're at home. So everything is cut up here. I'll move this to the side. And Anaya and I will eat a couple sprigs of asparagus. I really love asparagus. Not a lot of people eat asparagus that I know, but I love it. Asparagus soup, fried asparagus, steamed asparagus, baked, grilled, I eat it. So for me, I'll cut down some of the stems. And what I do with my stems after that I don't use is I put it into my, what is it called? My compost. Because you want to use everything that you have. You don't want to be wasteful. There's a lot of people out here who could use some of this. And I'm not a wasteful person. So I'll put it in my compost and use it to grow more fruits and vegetables. So, cut it like this. Save this to the side. And voila. When I'm ready to fry it in the pan, then I'll just put some oil, salt, and pepper on it, and we'll go from there. So now what I'll do is I'll take my asparagus, because I did not wash it beforehand. Come over to the sink, rinse it in cold water, shake it off really well. If you have a paper towel, you can use a paper towel to dry them, because when you put it into the hot oil, it'll start popping. And I don't like to be burned by grease. So, get my salt. Actually, I'll use my sea salt. Y'all got baby arms. There we go. So I have my sea salt, and I'll use my pepper. Shake that one more time. Place it in there. And cut the flame down a little. Little bit of pepper. Little bit of salt. So now my grease is hot for my shrimp. I'm going to grab my bowl of vegetables. Put my vegetables in first. Put it down in the sink. Just move the asparagus around. Saute the vegetables just a little bit. You don't want to overcook them. Still want a little crisp to them, unless you really want them cooked. So I'm going to get rid of that. Smells so delicious. So I don't want to season the vegetables because there's already enough seasoning in the shrimp. And it will take care of the vegetables as well. So I'll sit that there. Now we're going to add our shrimp. Some of that garlic out of there. Put that in the... Doesn't look delicious. Absolutely beautiful. So you're gonna let that cook for a little while. If you want, you could, if you have a top, you can put a top over it. But I'll take this from here. See if this will fit. There we go. And we'll sit it in there. Asparagus is almost done. It doesn't take that long. I'm gonna grab me a plate. I always rinse off my dishes when I take them out of the cabinet because my children wash dishes in the house too. So I want to make sure that everything is clean. Sometimes they may miss things, and it's okay. Because they're still learning. Everything is a learning process. So you just rinse your dish off. There we go. I don't have a towel on me right now, but that's all right. Let's see if I can find. Oh, I know where they are. I don't have them, so what do? We use a different method. So, what I'm going to do, thank you. What I'm going to do, Mr. Cameraman, is just use a fork. Grab them to put on my plate. sit in the pan and cook too much longer. I'll set this to the side. And, oh, don't forget your oven mitt, because you do not want to pick up this hot plate and it burn your fingers, because everything's gonna go all over the place. So, do like this. It's coming along quite well. You can turn it up just a little bit. Now you can make a sauce out of this. But what I like to do, once it's cooked a little bit more. Now this I didn't want to pre-do because I wanted you to see exactly what I'm doing. And it doesn't take that long for the shrimp to cook. No more than 8 minutes. So my shrimp is done. And I was going to add a little bit of sauce to it. However, it made its own. So I don't need to make any more sauce. Look at that. Beautiful. So I'll cut my fire off. Move here to my plate. Make sure that I put all the vegetables on. Don't want it to go everywhere. Put a little bit of juice on the rice. And a couple more pieces of shrimp. Because I could eat this whole pan by myself, but I promised my daughter I would share with her. Put this back over here. Get my parsley. Sprinkle it around. Voila. Shrimp, vegetables, and rice. Something simple. Thank you for joining in. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that you got something from this show. The advice that I can give to you is, love yourself enough to know that you are loved. Love yourself enough to know that you can do anything that you want. Love yourself enough to know that it's your time to heal. That it's your time to live your greatest you. Love you exactly where you are. And that love will take you to where you need to be. I'm going to try this food out. Y'all going to have a good day. Relax and sip your tea. See you next time. Delicious. Life, strength, beauty, love.